Alright, went out on a day trip today with my new homemade poke sled. As many of you know, I tend not to buy the best of gear. Sometimes I buy too cheap and regret it. But this is some stuff that worked for me today. A little different than other videos. I'm not going to go over my 3 U.S. Army shelter halves and my tent stove. You've seen that. This is just some different gear. I'm going to try and keep it short. Alright. Boots. I'm not taking pack boots with removable liners. If I was going out for 10 days, I probably would. These worked really good. They were closeout $50 Keen insulated, waterproof. 3 pairs of darn tough merino wool socks. You know, I love those things. I'll be wearing a pair, 1 pair for at night, 1 pair for the next day. Hopefully in the hot tent at night, I'll be able to dry out the socks that I wore during the day. Overmitts. U.S. Army overmitts. I wear these around my neck, stuff them out in my base layer and the inside of my base layer when I have to stop because other people are doing stuff or whatever. Take a quick break, put my hands in these, they get nice and warm. They're good. I've put a conditioner on here. If it was really wet out, of course, it's a problem. Fingerless gloves. This is what I wear all day long when I'm snowshoeing, skiing, walking, at camp. This is what I use. I just got these. They're imitation leather and nylon. They're definitely not fire gloves. Pants. This is what I wear. U.S. Army surplus 1951, 100% wool. Very nice. Was back in the buckthorns. They work great. Base layer, Thermosilk, long johns. I've tried a lot of different long johns. These work great for active wear. The disadvantage is they're somewhat fragile, so you have to keep them in a bag in your pack. And you know, they can have runs in them, so long-term longevity I don't know about. Bandana, cold, runny nose, enough said about that. I always have a bandana. My outer layer, I just had a base layer and an outer layer. Wool shirt, you've seen that. I love that thing. It was great in the buckthorn. It's great around the fires. If there was a replacement to this, it would be like a G. Fred Asbel type thing. I may end up getting that because that is getting worn. Insulating layer, I have a Wiggy's liner there, just like a U.S. Army jacket liner. Had the dog out, need the dog leash. Okay, tools, I'm not going to go into tools too much. You've seen what I take, but pretty much next week I'll be using the Mora Robust Fire Steel. I put a little retaining paracord on there and ceramic sharpening rod. In my pocket I always have my Opinel, Carmex, lighter, another sharpening rod. You know, I probably don't need all that, but anyhow. Spare flashlight, always have an extra spare flashlight in my pocket. This is my main light. It's on a night eye swivel here, so I can put it on my hat, put it on my belt. I don't use a headband anymore. Phoenix LB20 with lithium batteries, extra batteries. Multi-tool, here's a Leatherman Juice. That's my favorite multi-tool. I like the Leatherman Crunch, but that's really working good for me. Maps, I'm trying to get used to the UTM grid system. The USGS maps don't always come with the UTM grids drawn on them. They have the tick marks but not the grid, so you have to draw them on. This is the one I used today. I've shown you I print mine off the archive.org, and what I've been doing is putting water-based polyurethane for weather resistance. One thing, when you print them off, make sure you get them to scale, and to get them to scale, use the UTM grid reader for that with the 1 to 24,000 1 kilometer scale on that. I'm not a land nav expert, but you know, a lot of stuff out there. Oh yeah, on my Leatherman there's also this new Fisher all-weather pen. Pretty nice. Cook gear, we're going to be boiling water, melting snow. There's no water available. 2-quart aluminum pot. I got this at a Rendezvous. It's just a little tin cup. Worked great. I made my chili in it. It's a little controversial, but I really find this thing works great as long as you're working around canvas and wool and not nylon. Here's an alcohol paint can heater. I heated up my meal today on that. 91% isopropyl alcohol. I know it's got water in it. If it gets sub-zero, it isn't really going to work. This is not a pressurized setup. It's not a replacement for a Trangia or an MSR Whisper Light. I have those and I'll probably take them, but boy, for a quick source of heat, this thing works pretty great. What I'm doing is I got a little piece of hardware cloth here that I can make a little, you know, to put my pot on, a little pot stand there, and then in here is just a Progresso can, and that's That's how I create a simmer ring out of it and a snuff ring, just like that, and it goes out right away. Really works pretty good. I'm surprised for a cheap stove. I know people can make their own alcohol stoves, use denatured alcohol. This is about $2.50 a quart. I mean, I really find it works pretty well. Calvin Rustrum read his Paradise Below Zero. He's a big advocate of having hot drink, coffee, probably not chocolate, whatever. Have a hot drink in the middle of the morning to get that furnace going after you've been trekking, donut, whatever. Here's my food bag. I'm not going to say anything other than, you've seen what I take for food. I make a lot of my own food. One thing I have found that in winter, if you need a quick pick-me-up, peanut butter, as long as you're not allergic to it, which I'm not, is a great thing. I take tortillas. I use those with tuna. I use them with my chili, cheese, all kinds of stuff. Works well for me. This is where I'll be hanging next week. Here's my little electronics kit, I guess you could say. There's little pair of binoculars in there. Cheap camera, so this can go right on my hip belt, and then GPS there. I really like the GPS so that I can see how far I've gone. Not really for locating myself. I'm not going to get lost. I'm going 5 miles in, there's trails, that's not really an issue. Trekking poles, $10 Walmart trekking poles, basket's worn off. Gonna have to do something about that for the deep powder. Again, I've got the hot tent at night. Things melt. Need a fake chamois to soak up all that water. Hudson Bay cold steel axe. My tripod chair, my homemade buck saw. You've seen that. Here's my day pack. This is where my clothes go. Down booties, first aid kit, all that kind of stuff that you've seen before. I put that on, keep that with me, and that worked well. In the brush, I know it's not waterproof. I got a pack liner and all that kind of stuff in there. Most of my clothes go in there. Really, just about everything goes in there, other than my food bag. Of course, this is kind of big, but I try and get my cooking stuff in there. And my tents and my snowshoes will all be on the pulp sled. So I'll stop the video and show the pulp sled real quick.